doing an experiment, as it were. Earlier today, you might have noticed that I had a video up with a friend and colleague of mine at the place that I work. We were testing out a software that is available on smartphones for the use of broadcasting. Now, the problem that we had that you might have noticed if you saw it is that the audio and the video became out of sync after a few minutes. So this is going to be my attempt to test the software with some new settings. If this software doesn't cut it, then I can switch to a different kind of software to see if we can make it work at some point. So, in order to take up a few minutes and see if we can't cover some decent content, if you will, I've decided to talk about some things that I've heard about the new Batman vs. Superman movie. I'm told, because I haven't seen it yet, but I have seen several reviews about it that cast it in quite a negative light, and my buddy John, who is just breaking into Twitch just like I am, saw the movie already and told me it was absolutely phenomenal, 10 out of 10 in his book, that it was pretty much a masterpiece. And he's a really big fan of Batman and Superman, and so his, already being a fan might bias him towards that a little, whereas the critics that have reviewed Batman vs. Superman negatively they might not be invested in it quite as much emotionally, or have been longtime fans and whatnot. So the impressions that I've gotten from the reviews are that people were expecting, based on its title alone, they were expecting a 2.5 hour long fight movie between Batman and Superman, and they were disappointed to find out that that's not the case. Spoiler alert, by the way, if you're watching this and you haven't seen the movie yet, there will be spoilers included in the broadcast. If not specific spoilers, at least spoilers in concept. So viewers beware. That said, it's not a 2.5 hour fight movie, as many would suppose. It's not even an hour long fight movie. The fight scenes take up a minimal portion, although despite the lack of action in terms of fight scenes, what it does have is a much darker, grittier feel, according to my friends who've seen it, including John, who just recently saw it. It came out on the 24th. And so his impression of it was this, that if Batman existed nowadays, in real life, we had a billionaire living in some sort of sprawling metropolis, like Detroit or San Francisco or New York or any of the major cities in the United States, that this Batman that you see in Batman vs. Superman is as close as you could possibly come to being an authentic, real-life version of what that person would be. Batman has a rule, as many of you know. Batman doesn't kill, or at least, that not traditionally. However, you're going to see a different side of Batman. You have a Batmobile that's equipped with machine guns that, according to John, who's seen it, shooting into this car, causing it to flip and roll and all these things. And, if Batman was really trying super hard not to break that rule, he probably wouldn't be shooting machine guns into these bad guys' car, right? So, basically what you have based on just that alone, aside from all the other things that John was telling me about after having seen the movie, is that Batman, his worldview after being a crime-fighting superhero for 20 years is that it's no holds bar anymore. He's got quite a bit of experience. He has a lot of years under his belt, and he's just trying to effectively stop all the crime and everything. So here he is, being much more ruthless, being a lot more I guess a lot more violent than Superman would like. And so some folks ask, well, why the conflict in the movie? Why does Batman and Superman, why do they have to have some sort of conflict? Well, it's basically this. Batman's trying to save the world, but he's got a gritty, dark way of doing it. In the movie, he actually has what he calls a bat brand, and it's literally a piece of metal in the shape of a bat that he heats up super hot and burns into the criminals that he captures and subdues. And when he turns them over to law enforcement and they have that brand, it's almost like a death sentence. That they were a bad enough criminal to get the bat brand, then they need to be dealt with a bit more harshly, sort of thing. Superman just sees that as an affront to humanity. That why would, if you claim to be a hero, or if you claim to be someone who's trying to stop crime, then why do you do all these horrendous things to criminals in the name of fighting crime? And hence you have this kind of you got one guy over here, he doesn't have any superpowers, he has to be brutal, otherwise they just won't be afraid of him and he won't be a deterrent. And you have Superman, who's really not afraid of anything because of his invulnerability to most things aside from kryptonite. And so he has a way of being able to stop criminals without having to be super violent with him. He can just overpower them, whereas Batman, despite his being a billionaire with all these gadgets and being super rich and being super strong, by human standards, he can't really scare them enough, if you will. So the only way to make up for that is with the surprising amount of violence, if you will. So he's in a pickle, and trying to fight crime without any superpowers. So that's the reason they fight, is that Batman has never before seen Superman. He's never seen any metahuman, as they call him in the movie. It's his first encounter. He doesn't understand it. And so he's taking what he believes to be the most rational action, the most rational position. So here's what I would say in short. I could go into a lot more detail. Even though I haven't seen it, I know quite a bit about it already based on testimony from those who have seen it. The reviewers have it wrong. If they're going to rate it, for instance, IGN rated it a 6.8 out of 10. I think that's horridly unfair because their expectations were completely off. They went into it with a fairly closed mind. Just based on my reading of the review, they were so narrow-minded about what they expected that they didn't give this movie room to grow and create its own little world. The whole Chris Nolan Batman thing, that trilogy, is a whole separate world and a whole separate version of Batman that you don't see. You get to see a real, or the most realistic Batman that you're probably ever going to see to date is going to be Ben Affleck's Batman. So that's about it for the broadcast. I want to thank you for watching. Hopefully the new settings that I'm trying on the app have succeeded in syncing up the audio and video. Catch my channel, twitch.tv/FlyntRyder, FLYNTRYDER. Most likely, if you're seeing this, you've already found it. But if you spot this on YouTube, that's where you can go to catch me. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.